Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. I see already a couple of people joining us today. While we wait for others, I'd like to welcome you all to our second webinar of our Cybersecurity Awareness Month. This is a special webinar. We have a guest speaker. We have our CISO and myself at this session. Yeah, so I'm gonna just allow you guys a couple of minutes to join. In the meantime, please write on the chat section where you're joining us from today, because we have a global community of cybersecurity professionals, and I always like to see people joining from different part of the world. So if you can just use the chat section and let us know where you're joining us from. Okay. Yeah. Chat section is live, by the way, guys. Feel free to text that over here. Might be been a mistake over there. Okay. Oh, yeah, we got Rita from Indonesia. Hello, everyone. Hello. We have Eugenio from Mexico. Very nice. Got Bulgaria, Hyderabad, Motilal, welcome. Bogomil from Bulgaria, welcome. Christian from Germany. Wow, it's a global community here. Very nice, very nice. Thank you very much. We have fun from Poland. Oh, hello, Dominic. I'm also based in Poland, so hello over there. Very nice, very nice. All right. Yeah, without further ado, I'm gonna just introduce what I'm gonna just tell what are we going to do today, why are we here, and what kind of webinar is expecting us. So today is like I said, is the second webinar of our Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We're gonna be talking about insider threats. Today I've got with me our CISO and our CISO Ansar and our guest speaker, CISO from EAP, Lee Williamson here. I'm gonna give the mic to them just for a second for them to introduce themselves, and I'm gonna explain what kind of webinar is going to do in a real quick manner. Ansar, go ahead. Why don't you introduce yourself to the team?
Hello everyone, so I am Ansar. I work at the CISO at SOC Radar. We do lots of webinars and we have as I can see, a global community from all over the world. So I'm glad to see everyone and I want to welcome to my fellow CISO, Lee Wilson. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, my name's Lee. I'm the CISO at EIP. We're an insurtech provider who provide solutions for running embedded insurance programs. And I'm really looking forward to this today. Insider threats is one of my favorite topics to talk about. So hopefully Ensar will keep me on track and I won't go too far left or too far right around that. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Thanks, Lee. Thanks very much. So, guys, for the webinar, by the way, at the end of the session, we're gonna have a short questions and answer Q&A session. So if you have any questions, feel free to type that into the text section or Q&A board in Zoom right now, and we'll answer them at the end. And for this webinar, we prepared something something different. We usually do presentations, and it's more of like an educative content going forward, and we have the speakers doing presentation. But for this one, we're going to be asking you questions from a platform in a minute. Ansar is going to tell you a bit more about that too before I share my screen. And it's going to be more of a conversation from CISO to CISO, and we'll learn a lot from them today. Okay, Ansar, do you want to say a couple of things about what people should expect from the session from in general, also about the interactive part?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Brock. So good morning, good afternoon, good night, everyone. Depends on where you are. So thank you for joining us today for this important discussion on insider threats, which have become more serious than ever before. And when it's come to the cybersecurity, there's an inherent unfairness between defenders and the threat actors. For us in defense, we have working hours, standard salaries, but for threat actors, their work is often a relentless, round-the-clock pursuit driven by the enormous financial rewards. And this imbalance is a part of what makes insider threats so dangerous. So the threat actors are willing to offer substantial sums of the money to the insiders in exchange for providing initial access to their systems. And some even go a step further, offering insiders a share of ransom or earnings from their attacks as a percentage. and the stakes have never been higher. And we, as cybersecurity professionals, need to remain vigilant. So today I'm excited to be joined by the fellow CISO, Lee Williamson, and Lee's insight on these topics are incredibly valuable and will be critical for all of us. We work to safeguard our organization. So, but before I hand the floor over to him, we'd like to hear from you. So we have a quick survey that will help us to understand where you see the greatest challenges when it comes to the insider threats. So, Brock, maybe you can start
Yep.
the live survey and we can see what you think when it comes to
Exactly. So everyone, please, if you like to do so, take out your phones and scan that QR code, or you can use the code upstairs on menti.com to join the live survey. And we have a couple of questions, the interesting questions we prepared. We want to see how you do on those. It will just take a couple of minutes. And when you join, please give us a thumbs up so I can see how many people join the live survey. More the merrier. I'm just gonna give you guys a second for joining us. Yeah, we got 5 questions. They're pretty straightforward and it's short and sweet. But it's our CISO so didn't make it easier for you guys. It's not gonna be that easy to know the answers. We'll see how do you guys fare on this live survey. All right, let me set a timer. I'll just give you guys 30 more seconds to join, and we'll start. All right. In the meantime, Lee, tell us where you're based. Is there anything fun you're doing this week?
Yeah, I'm based out. I'm based in the Isle of Man, where a few of my colleagues are, but we are very much an international organization. So even prior to COVID in 2020, the company was very much remote working first. So I have colleagues internationally all over the place.
That's really nice. How is the weather in Virginia, Ansar? We are a team internationally right now, all over the world. I'm in Poland. You're in US, in Virginia. So tell us something.
Yeah, it's not that bad actually. It is like not too hot, it's not too cold. It is between. This is the weather I like. So it is sunny day today, not rainy. That's also a good thing. I love sun. So
That's nice.
yeah.
Alrighty. Okay, we got more than about 15 people already joined the live Q&A session. Let's give it a shot. Let's see what people will be doing. All right, let's see the first questions. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys 30 seconds to read an answer, and then we'll see the real one, the real correct answers. Oh, we have a couple of different ideas here. We got only one answer, one right answer though.
That's the point I want to make it actually.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Um,
Okay, about 5 seconds left. It's interesting statistics here. Okay, yeah, time is up. All right, let's see the right answer, okay? And see what our CISOs have to say about it.
mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, floor is yours, guys. Well, what do you see about this data? What do you see us right now? It's
It is
so
actually 1% like it was reported, and this shows us actually insider threat activity has significantly increased, making it one of the fastest growing cybersecurity challenge.
yeah, exactly. Lee, any comments about this specific question? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, I think it's as Anzar said, in reality, it's increasing year on year. And I think as we go more into this conversation, you'll see that there's certain external factors that will make that more and more as time goes on, whether that's economic factors, financial pressures on people as economies change around the globe, to how the actual attackers themselves are funding the insider. And also we need to talk about obviously the accidental insider threat as well. Often people concentrate on it's a bad person in the company, but I think at least 50 or 60% of insider incidents are actually accidental or by mistake that's led to data breaches.
Yeah, thanks. All right, let's see the next one. Yeah, your 30 seconds starts right now. That's an interesting question as well. I'm curious. I don't know the answers myself. I didn't prepare this. So yeah, I could also join
Like
myself.
it is impossible to know the answer just because there are statistics. Like nobody can memorize those statistics, but at least you can guess between those numbers. But it is okay not to choose the correct answer because that's not the point actually.
All right, time's up. Let's see the right answer. Yep.
Yeah, it is 21 to 40 incidents. The frequency of insider incidents is surprisingly high when we analyze the statistics, often more than companies might anticipate. So maybe you thought it is less than 10 or even less than that, but actually the result is like between 21 and 40. This the frequency of this incident trends, as Lee mentioned, it doesn't have to be malicious all the time. Negligent people also can damage the company. There is a one myth in cybersecurity. It says like, because of me, my company is not gonna be damaged. That's a very wrong thing to do and say. And because of you, your company get damaged. Since we are in the cybersecurity awareness month, it is not that the threat actor is always looking for the weakest point. So you could be the weakest link in the company and they're going to use to get your company.
All right, let's jump to the next one. Thank you, Ansar.
Yeah.
This is an interesting question.
Absolutely. So very interesting question.
I think it's a lot more than people expect. Like these things are not cheap. Just a couple seconds left. Yeah, let's see the answers. All right, yeah, time's up. Let's see.
So I
15,
can
15 million.
most of the people choose $20.5 million, but the correct answer was 15.38 million. The financial impact of the insider trust is substantial, costing organizations millions per incident. And that's why at the beginning I was trying to sell there's an unfair game between the threat actors and the people in the defensive part. Those are huge amount of money for the threat actors to earn.
Exactly. It's
Yeah,
a
you have to think about it. It's not just things like ransomware that people often have the headlines in the press about. It's the cost to recover the company. So you might have a ransom of, I don't know, 2 million, which you might be willing to pay or you might not pay, but it's all the not being able to bill, not being able to get pay your employees, supplier issues, getting the data back, losing data, not being able to recover data. All this has a financial cost to it, which soon adds up to these really large figures, as well as regulatory fines.
Thanks. Yeah, right on. Okay. Let's see the next one. We got one more after this one, and we'll continue the conversation with our dear CISOs here. Your time starts right now already. As soon as you see the question, your 30 seconds starts. The results are always interesting to see they keep changing, and the things that we least expect might be the right answer. All right, time's up. Let's see.
So yeah, most of the people are right. So a quarter of insider trust incidents are malicious, and while many may think insider threats are existential. The reality is more concerning. As Lee mentioned, not all insider threats are malicious. Negligent people could damage also the company. And especially SolarWinds, we saw that third parties also considered as insider threats, and they also could damage the organization or company as well.
All right. The last but not the least question. Okay. 30 seconds. Here we go. This is not easy at all, even for cybersecurity practitioners. All right, last 5 seconds. Okay, time's up. Let's see the right answer.
Great. So as you can see with this question, we are trying to make a point that despite the high frequency and financial impact of the insider threats, fewer than half of the organizations have a formal program to address them, so exposing a critical vulnerability. Most of the people, like, I sent a couple of topics to the lead and he chose insider threats directly because he definitely know how insider threats could be dangerous right now and in the future as well. And most of the people or organizations, they are not even aware how insider threats could be trouble for them. That's why we are talking about insider threats today. And this statistics also show us like the most of the organizations or the company is they don't even have insider threat, like adjust insider threats program or any kind of solution.
Exactly. That's right, answer. All right, thank you, everyone. I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen and we will continue this conversation between two CISOs. There are some questions and answers, and at the end, we'll be happy to address your questions. So feel free to use the chat section. Okay, go ahead, Ansar. You can we can start with the questions.
Sure. Thank you so much for everyone for participating in the survey. Hopefully, I could make a point for you, like how insider threats are important. That's why we are talking about today. And Lee's insights and experience is very critical, very important. So once again, thank you so much, Lee, for joining us today. And as you know, Lee, it is not a secret that the world of work has changed drastically over the past few years with the rapid rise of the remote and hybrid environments. We have seen new dynamic introduced to the workplace security. So remote work in particular has blurred the boundaries between the personal and professional spaces, and it has become harder to monitor behaviors that might signal a potential insider threat. So from your perspective, how have you seen insider threats evolve with the rise of remote work and hybrid environments? And what new challenges have you noticed, and how organizations adapting these new changes?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. In reality, COVID was a massive impact on all businesses, especially those that weren't used to remote work and they were very much used to that. This is our castle. Everybody stays inside this castle. We have people who protect us from the outside, and we trust everybody inside. And it was as simple as that. COVID came along. We obviously saw a lot of data breaches and hacks in a very, very short period of time during late 2020 into 2021. And that was for a number of reasons, right? Companies didn't know how to deal with it. Suddenly people were sent home. They had desktops in the office. They didn't want to take them home or give them to the people. So the people were suddenly using personal laptops at home, which didn't have the same security measures, didn't have antivirus, probably already had spyware or illegal software installed on them. Employees, when trained, they were just sent home, right? How do I work? People were onboarded remotely for the first time. They didn't come to an office, didn't have an interview. If companies were growing, it was all done online, you know. And we've seen cases of that recently where, threat actors have actually used deep fakes, voice fakes, and video fakes to actually take on jobs within companies to become the inside threat, actually get the keys to the castle given to them. Here's your username and password, off you go. and then found out weeks or months later, hang on a second, this is actually a threat actor who's in a completely different country, and that picture doesn't match the person we spoke to on the phone. So we've got those kinds of attacks coming now with the new technologies. We've got data storage issues. So where are people storing their data? They're storing it in the cloud. A lot of those cloud file shares that were set up were never correctly configured. So using tools like SOC Radar and other threat intelligence, you can very quickly and very easily find S3 buckets, Azure file shares, blob storage, open on the internet with very confidential information in it. So I think that's a concern. We've obviously got AI as well, and how do we control that? That fits into remote working because the person's at home, they're isolated, they don't have somebody watching them, they don't have a person next to them where they can go, should I really be doing this? Can you have a look at this email for me? Do you think this is a phishing email or not? They don't have that backup. So sometimes they feel a bit, well, should I email security and ask them the question? I'll look a bit stupid. Whereas in the past, I would have asked my colleague to have a look. So I think there's that going on. There's the mental health aspect. People feel very isolated. They don't have that same camaraderie as you used to have in the office. We go out for drinks on a Friday night. We kind of hang out at lunchtime. I have friends who are colleagues, things like that. People don't have that anymore. They don't have that kind of support network within the office environment. And that can lead to them becoming isolated, lonely, maybe a little bit of apathy sets in around security, things like that. They post certain things on social media, a phishing attack comes in or a social engineer comes along and goes, I feel for you, I'm here to talk to you, I can support you. And then before long, you've made friends with an attacker who's got an ultimatum or an ulterior motive. And then you give them the keys to the castle because they either pay you or they trick you into doing it. So I think remote working has given a lot of issues. And I think the final one is home networks. Let's not be around the bush. A lot of the routers which are provided by the telecoms companies around the world are not the best. They're not the most secure. And you don't have a team of security people managing a next generation high-end firewall and monitoring it 24/7. I don't see any companies monitoring people's home internet usage. And why would they? There's probably a lot of ethical reasons not to do it. And also the technology is just not there. So yeah, I think the home network thing, the Wi-Fi, that kind of stuff, yeah, that's a big issue as well. And we've seen breaches and things happening around that where hackers have sat outside somebody's house, gotten on the Wi-Fi, the work device is there, I hacked the work device. No, guess what? They're using a VPN into their central storage. Now I can just walk straight into their central storage and steal what I need to steal. So yeah, so I think remote working is something which will catch a lot of companies out if they haven't got the right controls and haven't thought about it. And hopefully, as we go through today, we'll kind of help you bolster that up a bit.
Thank you so much for that. So one thing that makes insider threats so devastating is that they often come from individuals we trust. So, and when they happen, the consequences can be far-reaching. So I remember a case where an insider incident led to millions in losses for a company. But what always stand out are the lessons that come from those situations. So Lee, could you share a real-world example of insider threat causing significant damage? And more importantly, what lessons we learned from that incident that could help organizations to protect themselves better?
Yeah, I'll give a couple of examples which are kind of public knowledge first, and then I'll give a couple that I've come across myself. So for those who maybe want to look a bit more into insider threats after this and look up for themselves, I'm sure everybody's heard the name Edward Snowden. Worked for the NSA, insider threat, stole a lot of data, took it out the door. That's an insider threat. To put it in perspective, Anthony, I can't remember his name, but Anthony Ledowski, he stole around about 144,000 documents from Google around self-driving vehicles, and then took that out the door and then went to work for Uber and designed out, automated driving solutions. And the scary thing with both those is trusted people took a lot of data in a short period of time and nobody noticed till after the fact. So there was no monitoring in place to say, hang on a second, should Anthony really be downloading 144,000 documents? No, he doesn't normally do that. So, but they're finding it after the fact. So I think the lessons learned from those are you have to have the right monitoring in place. You have to have user behavioral analytics. What does a user usually do? How much data do they do on a normal basis? What kind of hours do they normally log in? What devices do they use? How do they interact with the system? If you don't have that, people can just take what they like and walk out the door with it, because you won't know until they go and work at a competitor or somewhere else. And then you'll find out after the fact, by which stage your IP is gone, your customer list is gone, it's too late. And yes, you can go to court and everything else, but the damage is done. In terms of ones I've seen, the ones I've seen most often, and I don't want to tarnish everybody with the same brush here, but it tends to be salespeople. And companies are guilty of this, because when a company hires a salesperson, you will often hear them say, I'm hiring that salesperson for the list of contacts they bring with them, that little black book. Well, that little black book wasn't theirs in the first place. It was their previous employer or the employer before that, and they've just built up this history of contacts they keep. So I've seen that quite often with salespeople. In terms of other ones I've seen in the maritime industry specifically, I've seen some interesting ones where the electronic charting systems which are used on board for navigation, these nice big screens they use for navigation, those cost around about $20,000 each. And I've seen those taken down by a $10 thumbstick because it had a USB port on them. Somebody wanted to watch a movie, because there was two of them, so I can use one. But they downloaded a movie via torrent. It had virus on it. They plugged it in and they took down that piece of technology, which then has obviously bigger impacts than just that device. It means that then potentially at port, the vessel cannot sail, which means it's not delivering things on time. There's port fines, there's compliance, there's contractual obligations. So that $10 stick is then costing a company $100,000. And then the final one, I think, as well, is things like Wi-Fi bypass. I've seen that quite often, especially again on vessels where the crew Wi-Fi is very slow compared to the business Wi-Fi. They're obviously separated for reasons of confidentiality, integrity, things like that. But they're at sea for a while, and you'll find access points which have been patched into the business network and all these kind of things. So they're all things which seem initially harmless to the person who's doing it. I am just going to watch a movie on this device, or I am just going to give Wi-Fi to a few people, but then there's massive consequences behind it.
Thank you very much, Lee, for that take. It's very interesting. Answer, anything you want to share? A real world example or anything interesting you want to add?
Yeah, sure. I remember one case. There was a one guy in an IT department in United Kingdom, and one day he just went to the upper management and told them they were hacked, and they had to pay the ransom in order to get the decryption key. And the boss, he refused to pay, and he started external investigation. What happened was, it was interesting, very interesting for me. Then they realized actually there was no ransomware attack. The guy in the IT department, he all made it up, the attack, and he was planning to keep the ransom for himself. So when this realizes, they of course informed the police, and he got arrested because of he was trying to counter his company. But this shows us like the people could be desperate to get more money. And this is actually my next question. Like, insider threats are not just about technology, they are about people. So the culture of an organization plays a huge role in either preventing or enabling these types of threats. And if employees feel disconnected or unappreciated, they may be more vulnerable to the bad actors offering financial incentives. And on the flip side, a positive, transparent culture can deter potential insider threats by fostering loyalty and openness. So since you are in the C-level, Lee, you're a CISO, in your experience, how significant is the role of organizational culture in preventing or enabling insider threats? What steps can leaders take to create an environment where employees feel less inclined to turn against their organization?
Yeah, I think it's a good one. And again, it goes back to that discussion of what is an insider threat. So we need to break that down, I think, into three categories. We've got the accidental one. I had the best intentions. I was trying to print something or tried to do something, and something went wrong. It caused a problem for the company. We've got the negligent ones who don't follow policies or procedures, think the rules don't apply to them, and therefore cause an incident. And then we've got the final one, which is obviously the malicious insider. So that's somebody who's doing something with intent to cause damage to the company. They know they're doing it to cause damage to the company. So how do we break that down into indicators, I think? So if we talk about indicators first, and we'll tie that into culture. So in terms of indicators, you've kind of mentioned it there in that last example you had. There's financial pressures at the moment around the globe. Okay, inflation's at an all-time high in many countries. Companies are not doing as financially well as they have done in the past, so they may not be the same kind of bonuses and salary increases as there have been in the past. And I think you have to put that into context that you will have people who are maybe struggling financially. And whereas in the past, if you're in a physical office, and it goes back to remote working, if you're in a physical office, you might know that, right? You might see that person's buying less coffee. It seems like a small thing. That person's buying less coffee than they used to buy. They don't go out for lunch so often. They look a bit disheveled in the morning. They're not dressed the way they used to dress.
Or
That's
when you
all.
got your Lamborghini.
Yeah, these are all indicators, right? That maybe there's a financial pressure or something going on. And then you can contextually look at that person and maybe go and talk to them and say, is everything okay? You need any help? That kind of thing. But if you have that kind of pressure, and then you start seeing these people trying to get involved more in certain projects, or they're trying to get elevated permissions for certain things, you can kind of contextually put those two together and go, okay, we might need to keep a closer eye on this person. You have conflicts. Okay, you always have conflicts within work environment. So how do you keep that openness and reduce tension between employees and management and between management themselves? Because conflict leads to bad feeling, leads to malicious activity. So we have that. So how does the organization look after and retain staff? Does your company have a high turnover of staff? If they have a high turnover of staff, are those people coming in the door learning something from you or your business, how it works, what your customers are, the contacts, those kind of things, taking them out the door with them to the next business? Are they job hopping and taking that with them? Going back to the sales style people, but it can apply to anybody in the organization. I think you need to educate everybody regularly on the threats and risks that are out there, including insider risks, what to look for in your colleagues. Because for every person who's going to be malicious, there'll be 10 people in the company who are straight and will go, that person's doing something not quite right. So how do you get that information through to the relevant people, either the management or the security team? You make reporting as simple as possible. Make it somewhere they can go to, they can click on a button and they can report something anonymously, or they can report and say, I have a concern about something. Somebody's not following a policy, somebody's not following a procedure. I think they're accessing things they shouldn't do. These are all people looking at people. Okay, no technology at the moment. This is people looking at people. You need to look at ingraining security across all parts of the business. So often security people look at just security, or IT people look at just IT, but it's not like that. You should look across the whole business. What is the security process for financial transactions? What is the security process for bringing on people into the business? Where's the vetting around that? Do we do regular vetting? How do our contractual changes happen? Do we mention about what InfoSec can monitor or not monitor as part of those contracts? A lot of companies which have long-term employees will have older contracts, which might actually be breaching terms and conditions at the moment, where IT or security are monitoring things and that person has never agreed to that policy. They've never signed a policy or a contract that says the company can monitor everything. So we have to be aware of those kind of things as well and retrospectively look at those. So I think it's about looking after the people. It's going back to that people thing. People who are happy, well looked after, and enjoy their work are going to accidentally make a mistake. Okay, anybody can accidentally make a mistake, but they're not going to turn to that malicious side. And I think it would be really the good people who are maybe in a financial problem, that maybe have gambling problem or something like that haven't informed anybody about it, don't feel comfortable enough to talk to anybody about it, that an attacker will talk to and say, here you go, here's 6 grand, here's 10 grand, here's 15 grand. All I need is his username and password. All I need is you to take this executable and run it at 10 o'clock at night. That's all I need you to do. And it's family pressure, right? It's the pressure of looking after your family, not losing your house, things like that. That can all turn a good person into a person who really needs money or has a reason behind it. The same with all of these sextortion campaigns and things like that, where, you know, social media, you know, WhatsApp, Snapchat, etc. Are the photos really there? Are they gone? Should you really be sharing that information? That can all be used to blackmail as well. So we go from being paid to actually being forced into doing something we don't really want to do. And again, how does a company deal with that? Does a company say to their employees openly, look, if you've done something like that, which you're embarrassed about, and you're going to get blackmailed, come and speak to us. We will try and help you. We will speak to the authorities on your behalf. We will try and support you with your family and everything else, rather than, no, we're not interested. Okay, I'll click the button that the person wants.
That was very good. Thank you so much, Lee. So it's not just to him, and technology, of course, plays a major part in our defense strategy. So the tools we use to monitor, detect, and prevent insider threats have advanced significantly. But with so many options out there, and ranging from behavioral analytics to access control, choosing the right approach can be daunting. So what are some of the most effective tools or technologies you haven't seen used to mitigate insider threats? Are there any specific strategies that have stood out to you, like as being particularly effective in preventing this kind of incidents?
Yeah, I think in terms of tech stack, you have to combine a lot of things, and kind of, you know, have a lot of telemetry there to actually understand what's going on within the business. I think in terms of technologies I like, I find work really well, and everybody has access to this out of the box, log files. Okay, the more you log in order and pull that into a central SIEM or other tool, the more you can analyze it. So I found it very rare, even today, that there are companies who are monitoring their 365 usage. So all of their data, their emails, their Teams chats, their files, their SharePoint, their OneDrive, everything, all stored in the cloud. People accessing it from the office or on the road, wherever they're accessing it from. Are people actually monitoring that and saying, okay, on a usual day, NSAR accesses these files. He accesses them 20 times. He deletes 2 files usually a day. He moves these files. I don't see that still as a big thing in many companies where they're actually going to that level of going, these are my top 10 users of usage every single day. And something's changed. Or suddenly, hang on a second, that person who only accesses 100 files is suddenly accessing 1,000 files a day. Is there a new project? Maybe. Are they working on some new piece of business? Or actually is there something else going on? So I think early indicators like that are very good to have, so you can, you know, manage it and look at it without basically accusing anybody of anything. Just look at it in a contextual of the organization, say, is something new happening? Do we need to be aware of it? Should we speak to the line manager and find out? Things like that. And I think as well, security themselves have to be very transparent. So what we do personally is we have deception technology, decoys, we have tripwires around the network. So if somebody does get through all the other technology and gets into the network and does something maybe they shouldn't do, we're made aware of it. But we also make that same technology available to our HR team or a financial team, so they can deploy that themselves with no knowledge of us where that's deployed. So if people with admin rights or other rights try to abuse those rights to get into those areas, they are also captured. So because a security person could become a bad insider just the same as anybody else in the organization. So you have to protect yourself against every employee, really. You've talked about using entity behavior analysis. That's come a long way. I think AI is going to do even more with that. Again, with that telemetry, all those different systems talking into AI, what's user behavior. Actually saw a very cool technology a couple of days ago. that looks at all of the email history of somebody, and when they type an email out, basically it'll say, hang on a second, you need to encrypt this, or it'll say, hang on, you never put Ansar and Burak and Lee in the same email. Are you really sure you want to send this? So even protecting people from accidentally sending things out, which is an insider threat, again, the technology is coming. But for the moment, I think it's education, it's logging and monitoring. It's not allowing things like personal equipment into use, only have business equipment, which is controlled and managed. Look at things like conditional access. Where can people access from? What time can they access it? What device they can use? Because it's very easy in the cloud world to access anything from anywhere, anytime. So I think that's the key things.
Thank you so much. And insider trust, we can say that it is very different than the other trust because humans involved. And as you clearly explained, thank you so much for pointing that out. Like you cannot just go and accuse anyone just because there are consequences by doing that. So you have to be very careful for other trusts, like detecting malicious softwares or stopping like ransomware. It is like could be much more easier than the insider trust because insider trust gets involved also human psychology and other other like other fields as well, not just the technical part. There is also some other things you have to consider to address the insider trust. That's why it is very challenging. As a cybersecurity professional, we are constantly looking ahead, trying to anticipate the next big challenge on the horizon. And insider trust, as we know, will continue to evolve, especially as technology and the workspace itself if change. So we have seen the rise of AI, as you mentioned, the growing complexity of supply chains, and even the impact of the social engineering. So let me ask you this question, Lee. Looking to the future, what emerging threats or challenges do you foresee in combating insider threats, and what should organizations be prepared for now to stay ahead of these evolving threats?
I think if we go back to your questionnaire at the beginning of this call, it's very clear that many organizations have not yet even started looking at insider threats seriously. And I think that's a big mistake because these are trusted people. They have the keys to your house. They have the keys to your data. They can walk in anytime they want and take it. Everybody focuses on the external threats. After all, that's where all the news is, right? Oh, such and such was hacked. This place was hacked. That was hacked. But nobody talks about the insiders really, apart from some of the cases we talked about there earlier on. Nobody talks about it. So I think behavior analytics is gonna improve a lot. And I can already see that with the likes of ChatGPT and Copilot and things like that. That technology is coming along. It's not going to be long before that technology is integrated into the SIEM tools and kind of really work out what is going on. But again, those tools are only as good as the data they're getting. So if you're not already logging your 365 data, you're not already logging who's logging in when, you're not already doing all these things, you can go and spend 20, 30,000 on some fantastic piece of software. It's not going to tell you anything because you're not ingesting the data. It's only as good as the data, and you can only base it on that. And if you're working in an office environment with other people, yes, you can walk around the office, you can get a feel of the vibe of the office, how people are, how they're feeling, things like that. But in remote working, that is very, very difficult to see how somebody is operating day to day, how they're feeling, especially if you're not speaking to them on a day-by-day basis. You're then relying on the likes of line managers to be doing regular one-to-ones or on team meetings in the morning, if you have such a thing. The line manager or somebody in that team gets a gist of how everybody's feeling and then feeds that in if there's concerns. So you'll still need that element no matter what you do technology-wise. You will always need that human element because the technology can understand it, but a human person can look at that and go, that person isn't who they usually are for some reason, and question it and maybe help out and maybe stop that change in attitude, which could lead to an accidental mistake or a malicious mistake.
Absolutely. So even though I have lots of more questions for you, Lee. Unfortunately, we have very limited time. So I want to take a moment to thank you for being here today. It was my honor to have you today. Your insights and experiences you have shared have been incredibly valuable. It is clear that insider trends are a challenge we must continue to stay ahead of and your perspective has given us all a lot of think about. And I also want to extend a big thank you to everyone who joined us today. We hope you find this session both useful and insightful as well. So learning from experts like Lee is a great way to deepen our understanding of evolving landscape of the cybersecurity, because he is actually in the battlefield, actually fighting this insider threats and other threats. So those experiences you shared with us and insights were very useful and very beneficial for me. And I hope the audience also agrees with me when I say this. So thank you so much for joining us today. Maybe we can take a couple of questions since we have 14 minutes left for this webinar. Do we have any questions from the audience?
Yes, let's see if we have any questions. Feel free to type that in the chat section, or there's the Q&A section on Zoom, and Lee and Ensar will be happy to answer those questions. If they are related to the webinar itself, I can answer that too. No problem. Oftentimes people ask if you're going to share the recording of this webinar. I'm just going to say that out loud for everyone to talk about it. So yes, we will be sharing the recording for anyone who has joined us or who has registered and didn't have a chance to be with us in real time today. It will be shared tomorrow. No questions about that. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, let's see if you have any questions in the chat section. A couple of people raising their hands. So if you can type in your questions, that will be much easier for us. Let's give our team a couple of seconds. I think it was very straightforward. I don't see any questions, guys. Very informative, very nice webinar.
Either that or everybody's now shivering in a corner, quite scared of the fact that
What do I do now?
real threats that we haven't thought about.
Yeah.
Nassim has a question, I guess, bro.
Let me see. Yeah, we got one question. Oh yeah, they're flying in. Now you questions. Okay, I'm gonna lead them out and we can answer them. We can tag team it, no problem. Okay, so from Nassim, we have a question. What is the most efficient strategy to combat insider threats, rules, and policies or awareness campaigns?
I can take that if you want, Ensar.
Yeah, please.
I would say it's a combination of all of them, to be honest. As I mentioned, if you don't have policies in place or procedures in place, then how is the user supposed to know what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do? And how does that then feed into things like, disciplinary processes and things like that? So you have to get your policies and your processes in place to say, this is what you're allowed to do. This is the kind of data you're going to be accessing. This is confidential. This is this is public. You're not allowed to do this, and this with each one of those. So you have to give them guidance around that, so they're able to do that. But then bolster that with training. So actually, give them regular training on all the threats which are going on. Have the security team meet with the teams, not just this standardized monthly training that you send out. Have the security team go and talk to people, interact with them, ask them what their problems are, see what efficiencies you can get from that as well. And just trying to keep that dialogue and openness and transparency going between the security team and everybody else within the organization, so that you know what's going on, they know what you're doing, and how you can help one another.
Thanks, Lee. Anything to add, Ansar?
I totally agree. Yeah, it has to be a combination of both awareness and you need to use technology to prevent it. And again, since it involves the human psychology as well, all the steps you have to take it very carefully, and you have to make sure like you're not accusing or damaging anyone in the company, just because it also can turn to back to you as a like negatively.
Exactly. Thanks, Ansar. We have two more questions right now. I'm gonna read them out loud and see And there's a couple interesting questions here. This one is from Rita. Can endpoint security count as a security measure to protect remote workers' devices? Ensar, why don't you take this one and we'll ask Lee for comment.
Sure. So you read the question from Reader, right? Can endpoint
Yeah.
security?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, it counts as one of the measures to secure the insider chats, because everything they do with their computer, their work computer, is locked by the EDRs, right? So at the end of the day, what we do as a CISOs, like with our SOC teams, they go and analyze these logs if there's an anomaly or there's any malicious or suspicious activities, those logs. And if there's any suspicious activity, then our incident response team can go and do the further investigation and make sure there is no data leak from our computer, from our server, company server, to the outside. So of course, EDRs and NDRs are the part of this countermeasures against the insider threats.
All right, thanks, Ensar. Lee, anything to add before we move on to the next question?
Yeah, I think Ensar said a little bit there on EDR, and I think that's he mentioned a word which people might not have picked up: incident. So if you have good EDR in place or XDR in place, so extended detection response in place, you need to make sure you have an incident plan around that. So not everybody on this call will have a SOC available to them. It's how you deal with that. So if an alert goes off that a device is being port scanned or something's happened to it at 10 o'clock at night, how does your organization deal with it? How do you as an individual deal with that? Do you outsource that to a SOC which can deal with it? Maybe that's the most cost-effective way. If you don't have that option, then how do you alert and deal with that in a manner which is quick and efficient? So EDR is great, but have an instant handling and response plan around that as well. And I don't mean a case of, oh no, the company's being hacked, we need to have a big plan. This is if this happens at this time of day or night, or I have this kind of alert come in from my EDR or whatever tool it is, how do I deal with it? What are my steps to deal with it? So either I can deal with it or somebody else within the organization who can do it for me.
Thanks, Lee. All right, we have a couple more questions while ahead of time. I'm gonna read the question from Eugenio. So Eugenio says, I have a problem actually with insider threats, but I have no tools or the system is very vulnerable and I don't know what to do. And I don't have support from the CEO or CIO. What should I do? And Eugenio says Eugenio wants to resign from the job in that situation.
Yeah, I mean it's not a great place to be if you don't have support from the C-suite, you don't have support from the CEO, the CIO. It's not a great place to be, right? Because in reality, every framework you look at or every standard, especially things like ISO 27001, will say it's a top-down framework. You know, the management should be pushing this down and supporting this and saying, you know, our company needs to be secure. We need to be secure because we have customers. Our customers, we hold their data or we work with them. So if you don't have support, that's not a great place to be. Yeah, that's a bit of a difficult one to answer, really, with that one. Yeah, I think if you don't have, I would turn that around and say, look, if you're a proactive person, and the problem is not necessarily you don't have support, but maybe you don't have the budget, maybe look at what can I do with open source tools, open source SIEM tools. I mean, SOC Radar themselves, they have a freemium tool, for example, for threat. So look at what's out there, which is maybe freemium, open source, and maybe try to use those kind of tools to at least bolster what you have in the short term.
Thanks, Lee. Thanks a lot. Yeah, going forward, let's see what questions we have. This one is from Jeffrey. What indicator of insider threats should security teams look for? Ensar, what do you say about it?
Sure. So that's a great question, and it is something that security teams need to be constantly aware of. When it comes to the insider threats, the indicators are often subtle, but there are several red flags that team can take a look. And one of them is the common indicator is anomalous behavior, as already Lee explained. This could include employees accessing systems or data that are outside the scope of their normal job responsibilities. For example, if someone from marketing is suddenly accessing financial data, that's a red flag. So similarly, off-hours activity like logging into the systems late at the night or weekends without a clear reason can be suspicious. And another sign is changes in behavior or attitude. If an employee suddenly becomes disengaged, disgruntled, or express frustration with the organization, it could be a warning that they are more susceptible to being approached by the external threat actors. There are also increased transfer or downloading of large amount of data, especially to extended devices or cloud services. If an employee is downloading more data than usual or accessing files they normally wouldn't need, that's worth investigating. And lastly, I can mention like teams should look for unexpected communication patterns. For instance, if someone is using encrypted messaging apps or communicating frequently with the competitors or unknown third parties, it might be a sign of insider activity. So in a sense, insider threats often leave behind a trail or small, seemingly insignificant signs, but when these are pieced together, they can reveal a much larger picture. So this is why critical to use behavioral analytics tools and closely monitor access logs.
Thanks, Ensar. We have a couple more minutes. I'll ask one more question maybe. Does Socrator have a special tool or part of the main program that highlights insider threats? Maybe you will be able to answer that, Ensar.
Yeah, there is no, we don't have a module specifically addressing insider threats, but at the end of the day, what we do as a threat intelligence company, we are looking for the indicators on the dark web and the surface web. It also shows, like, just like the threat actors, the purpose of the threat intelligence platforms is take a look at your company from the threat actor's perspective. And what threat actors trying to do all the time, they're trying to find the weakest link in the organization, right? So this could be a person or technology or your third parties. So for the third parties, we have a feature, supply chain intelligence, that can provide the intelligence about your third parties, which can directly cover one of the insider threats of your company. But for the people and the technologies you're using as in your organization, there's a weak link on those technologies on people. If there's any indicator on the dark web and the surface web, Socrator definitely can spot that out and let you know there's some sort of leak about that employee, or if possible, like there's some conversation between your employee and the threat actors. This can be easily detected by Socrator and provide to you.
Thank you, Ensar. And that's pretty much the time we have for today. I know we have a couple of questions. Actually, we'll be replying to your questions via email since we don't have the time for it right now. I'm gonna record these, and also you'll receive the response via email from us. Thank you very much, everyone, for this nice session. It was very engaging. And thank you, Lee, one more time for being our guest speaker today. It was really nice having you with us. And I'll see you guys next week and on our next sessions. Thank you very much. Have a
Thank
good
you
night.
very much, everyone. Great, thanks.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care.